Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marte. I come from Norway and I love makeup, and today I'm doing another Glam Shop video, and I just received a PR package from them with both the Valentine's collection, so that would be these three palettes, and I also received the three heart blushes. They look like this. And I got the new palette that they released a short while ago, I think maybe just a week. That looks like this on the inside. And I got some concealers and the new Multichrome Singles. So I'm going to show you swatches of basically everything, and then I'm gonna do this look using one of the Multichrome Singles and a variety of the palettes. I think I almost used all of the palettes actually for this look. Maybe not the pink one, but yeah, so I'm just gonna test it out, show you the swatches, and yeah, let's get started. First up of the new Multichrome Singles is Multi Nude, and it is a very pale nudish kind of shade with a pink to green flip, and it's very stunning. I will show you a look that I did yesterday using this for work with just some browns in my crease, and it was so pretty. Here you see it on the finger, and you can very visibly see that pink to green shift. And here you have a thin layer on my hand, and it's very pretty. It's a very iridescent shade, and I think it transforms a lot based on what you put underneath it. And here with some light coming in from the side as well. You can see it's very sparkly, but it doesn't have any big sparkly particles. It's very elegant, I would say, but very shifty and pretty, as you can see. Next up we have Dragon Tear, which I think is maybe my favorite. Just look at how sparkly and shifty that is. It is so intense. It has kind of like a neutral but almost mustardy green too base, and it has a very strong pink, almost purple shift that goes to gold and green, as you can see right here. It's just so intense. So I'll swatch it right now. Here you can see it on my finger without any additional lighting other than my regular setup. It's very opaque, it's so shifty and very sparkly. Here you can see a relatively thin layer on my hand, and as I said, very sparkly. It's not thick, although it is opaque, but I mean, just looking at this, I think it just speaks for itself how pretty it is. I just love this shade. Just look at that gorgeous shift. Last but not least, we have the shade H2O, which you can see the formula is a little bit more what would you say? It's kind of like less textured, but it does have a beautiful blue to purple flip and a slightly green sea foamy base, but it's not very visible as I first thought, because I was really thinking this was similar to Mirror from Cliona, but it's not as similar, but in some linings it's almost identical too. So here you see it swatched on my finger. It's very opaque in comparison to Mirror, which is not that opaque, but it does smooth out quite a bit once you swatch it, so I'll just show you that. I mean, I think you can see what I mean about this formula being a little bit different, because it's kind of latching on to some parts of the skin. But I think using this, just tapping it on and smoothing it out like this, would give you a beautiful result on the eyes. And just look how electric that is. It doesn't have a lot of sparkly particles like the other ones do, but it does have some tiny sparkles to it, and it's very shiny. So I really think it's a beautiful shade, but since I have Mirror, I probably wouldn't have needed this. But if I want something like mirror but without that very prominent green base, this is perfect. Since I know a lot of you were curious about mirror, I did swatch it here on my ring finger, and you can definitely see that green a lot more coming through. The sparkly shifts of this H2O from Glam Shop is just so much more opaque in comparison. And I guess I could swatch mirror next to this as well. And it's very thin, as you can see here, mirror. It's just like it disappears once you go to the side. This one does it a bit too, but not as much as mirror. And if you do build mirror up, you will get more of that green base that you can see a little bit here. It's like a chartreusey green almost. But you can see that the shifts are basically the same. It's very like electrical purple to blue. At least that's how I would explain it. So that is H2O and Mirror from Clionadh. Now I will be swatching the Valentine's collection, and this is the Rendezvous palette, and I think this one was the one I would have picked up if I were to order some, but I was also eyeing that Romance palette, which I will show you after this one. But I'm just gonna swatch it off camera and show you the swatches. Now here is the Rendezvous palette swatched, and it's such a wholesome palette. You can't do a ton of looks with these shades, but you can certainly do a few. And I love that Multichrome shade. It is so pretty. You can really see that shift right here. It's so intense. I'll turn down the lighting a little bit so it's more visible for you. I think here you can see it even more, and I really like that neutral shade too. It has tons of sparkles, which is just so cute and very versatile. You can use it for every day. You can use it for your inner corner or just all over the lid. It's very pretty. So that is the Rendezvous palette swatched out. Next up is the Romance palette. It's a little bit more cool toned, but I was surprised that these mattes aren't that cool. They're more in the neutral realm. But the shimmers here are also just so stunning. So let me swatch it for you. And here is the Romance palette. These shimmers are a neutral lover's dream. You have that first shimmer, which is a very pale gold. It's almost an iridescent, but you can see it has a slightly pink to gold shift, and it's just so sparkly and pretty. I think it's gonna be so perfect to layer on top of any kind of matte. And the one underneath is a little bit more cooler toned. It's almost like a super pale taupe with pink and blue and almost multicolored sparkles. I hope you can see that here. Wow, they're so pretty. The mattes are also very beautiful and opaque. This lighter one I think you could use to blend this dark one to make it look a little bit cooler, because this pale shade, it has kind of like a grayish yellowy undertone. It's very similar to my skin tone though, and it's just very opaque. But I think this is a very pretty neutral palette. So that is the palette Romance. Here we have the Zauroczenie palette. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I did actually look it up. I think it means charming or charmed. And it's a beautiful pink palette. I did save this to last because I think some of these might stain, but we will see. So I'll go ahead and swatch it and show you afterwards. And here is the Zauroczenie palette. I think that this shimmer here, it makes me want to wear pink, and I'm really not a pink eyeshadow kind of person, but that one is just so sparkly and beautiful. Personally, I don't see myself wearing this bright pink. I think the burgundy here could be really beautiful paired with something more peachy like this matte. And I do see that this more pastel multichrome kind of formula would be a beautiful highlighter. And it reminds me so much of, I don't remember the name, but some shimmer from Makeup Geek. Do you remember that one? I remember Angelica Nyqvist, she was raving about that Makeup Geek single. It was like her favorite, and this reminds me so much of that one. I don't remember the name though. I do have it in my collection still. But I think that would be a beautiful highlighting shade. So that is the pink palette. Very pretty with lots of sparkles in that one shimmer. So pretty. The last palette that I'm going to swatch is this one. It's one of their newest palettes. I think it is the newest palette. I don't know what this means. I'll probably have to Google it, or I know that you guys will help me in the comments. But it's a very beautiful spring palette. It has a lot of mattes, so I think these tones are perfect for spring and very neutral, but you still have some deeper tones here. Personally, I love purples like this and combine them with some orangey peachy colors. I'm sold. The other shimmers here are quite deep. I probably would have chosen something a little bit lighter to go with these mattes, but I do think that at least these three mattes will go perfectly with those shimmers. I'm going to swatch them a little bit in a different order, but I hope that's fine. I just want to match them together with the colors that I think will go together. So I'll just do that off camera and show you the swatches. And just look at that. That is such a beautiful green shift. Now here is that palette swatched out, and I did swatch them in a different order, as you might be able to see. So the first three shadows are the middle row, then I swatched the purple together with this shade and the silver, and then I swatched the burgundy, this bottom one, and the more neutral kind of gold shade. And here you can see them all together, so it's a very I guess you could say warm color story, except from that more cooler toned shimmer and the purple one. But it's very springtime to me, and I think all these shadows are so beautiful. The bottom neutral one here is a little bit more of a foiled formula. This one is more drier and more flaky to the touch, and this is more of a pastel multichrome formula like they had before, which is very smooth but still shifty and opaque. I do really like this, and I was contemplating on picking it up, but then I was so lucky to receive it, so I didn't have to purchase it. In my PR package, I also received these new concealers. I received them in shades 1, 2, 3. To me, they're very, very similar, but I did try it yesterday, and I love the formula. You can see it looks like this, so it's I don't know, it's not a big applicator, but just perfectly sized. And here you can see shade 1, 2, 3, and you can probably tell what I mean, that they're very similar. I feel like this one is more of an olive, this is more pink, and this is more yellow. But you can see it's quite dark, and it's actually a lot darker than their under eye concealer that I have. And now I can really see that I have not been able to get away that H2O shade. It's giving me that blue sheen right here, which is actually quite beautiful. But this is the under eye concealer. I'll just swatch it underneath this one, and it's quite a bit lighter, and it's perfect for me, especially on the under eye where I want to brighten up a little bit. But I did love the formula of the new concealer. It's a little bit thicker while still not being thick once you have applied it. And it had a lot of coverage. It didn't look too dry or anything, so it's a very good formula. But for me, it's just not the perfect shade, but I could use their mixer shade in white to make it work. It might actually be worth it, because I did really enjoy how it looked on my under eyes. So those are the concealers. I also got these heart blushes that I think are so stunning. I think the colors that they chose are just so beautiful, and they would probably work for most skin tones because they're very pigmented. And yeah, I just really like the color selection here, and I did already use the middle one, and it was so beautiful and very pigmented. So I'll just swatch them with my finger very lightly so you can see how they look. Here you can see the name of the peach one. It's almost the same as that pink palette. So here we have this one. I'll just swatch them like here. Beautiful peach, gonna look very natural on your skin. Here we have the one called Romance, and it is a more kind of reddish pink shade. It's very, very pretty, and just blended into my skin tone very nicely. So I'll put that here. Very rosy shade. Last but not least, this is the name of the lighter pink blush, and it looks like this. Oh, this is such a popular kind of blush shade at the moment, I think. and it's very beautiful for more cool toned looks. There you have that. So here are the three different ones. It's the peachy one, the rosy red one, and the more purpley pink one. And as you can see from my fingers too, they're very pigmented, and you can see a slight sheen in them, which I think is nice because it gives a very natural glow to the skin. So those were the blushes. And very last, I did get this one, and it's like an illuminating concealer. I'll just swatch that right here. But I feel like this is also very yellow, but it could work well to correct on the under eyes, for example. I mean, it's actually not a concealer now that I look at it. It says corrector rosette something, so it's probably for actually correcting redness. That makes sense with it being a little bit more of a green tinge. So I do think that I might get some use out of this because I do use their Expert Camouflage Corrector every single day. That's the one that comes in this pot right here. I use it every day, and it's a little bit of that same tone, as you can see. So maybe that's just that one in a different format. In that case, I would love this. As I mentioned, I do want to make Dragon Tear right here the main shade of this look that I'm gonna do. So I'm trying to use just the new palette, so I might be using a little bit of these, we will see, and probably I'll use this lightest shade in the Romance palette. Maybe if I do an inner corner shade, I could use this one, and I might end up using this peach shade because I think it's a little bit more orange than the one in the Rendezvous palette, so we'll just see how that goes. Either way, I'm going to start off with this shade right here from the Rendezvous palette, and the brush I'm using is WG1 from Stasi Alex, and I'm just applying this in the outer corner. I don't think I'm going to make a very complicated look. I just want something quite simple and just try out these different mattes. As usual with Glam Shop mattes, I feel like it's performing really good. It's pigmented, it blends out beautifully, and I'm very happy with how this is looking this far. Now I'm taking my Stasi Alex WG2 brush with this paler peach. And I've been trying more lately to have a very lighter inner part of the eye just to open up my eyes a little bit more, and I have been really enjoying that. It's just when I do two-toned looks, I feel like I need that space for the second shade, but when I'm doing more monochrome looks, I think it's very nice to have that portion of the eye very light. I just really like how that ends up looking. As you can see, I'm just using whatever is left on the brush after having applied it here to just work on the blending here. And I will be going in with that lightest shade from the Romance palette, just closest to the brow right there. And I think I'll actually add a little bit of this one, the lightest peach from the Rendezvous palette, and I'll just see how that looks here. Yeah, that's very nice. Now I just packed on a bunch of that lightest shade on this R105 brush from What's Up Beauty. And I'm just applying that here, trying to matte down the concealer, and it looks like the weird texture is kind of going away, which I'm glad about because it didn't really look very nice. So that's very nice. I'm also just packing a little bit of that on the lid just to make sure that my lid is as matte as can be before going in with the shimmer, which I'm so excited about. I'll just finish off the other eye too before doing that. But I'm very happy with how simple and nice these shades look and how they blended. Before going in with the shimmer, I'm going to use a very thin layer of this kind of glitter gel that the Glam Shop has. So I have that on my lid right now, and I'm just taking this shade on my finger because that's just the application I prefer to use myself. So I'll start on the outside of the lid. I might actually go into some of those lighter shimmers for the inner parts of the lid because this does have a little bit of a base, and as I mentioned earlier, I do prefer to have a very light inner part of the lid. I think I'll actually go in with this lightest shimmer from the Romance palette. I just really like how that looks. So I'm just applying it with my WG5 brush from Stasi Alex. And I think I'll just go over with my finger to blend the shades more into each other once I have applied most of it. I hope I wasn't out of frame there, but wow, this is actually looking so nice once I get to blend them a little bit, and it actually works just blending them with the brush. So that's how it's looking, and I love it. I don't think you can see it, but when I'm looking in the mirror right now, I can see that greenish gold to pink, and then it's more of a silvery pink right here because I applied that other shimmer. So I'll probably just use some of those peach shades right here. And I'm using my Sigma E30 brush, I think it's called, yeah. With this matte peach. And maybe I will even use that peachy pastel multichrome formula kind of shade. I don't know what it's called. I think I want to do that. So maybe I'll just use my little finger. I'm just trying to get some of it on here. I'm not applying a lot, and I'll just try my best to. Very subtle when I apply it all by itself there, without any glitter glue or anything. But I definitely see that green tinge, but I don't know if you can see that in this angle, but I like it. So I'll just finish off the rest of my makeup. I'll probably show you the blush. And then I'll show you the close-up of this look. Now I applied my foundation as with my last video as well. I did use the Romand new Zero Cushion foundation, and I will leave all the details down below. I'm ready for blush now, and I'm gonna use this coral one because I think it's just the perfect match for this eyeshadow. And I think it's a little bit funny that I just said I don't do pink makeup, and then what is this look? It's quite pink if you ask me, but it's more of a corally peachy pink, which I really like. And I just took 2 dabs into this now, and I got so much on my brush, so I'm just gonna disperse it a bit on my hand. I don't know if you can really see that, but I'm just gonna apply that very gently here. It's very pigmented. I don't know how much you can see. I feel like I have to use a little bit of powder right here because I applied it a bit too low. But I really like how these are looking and applying. As I said, super pigmented and beautiful, beautiful colors. And I'll just dab a little bit over my nose. And just to calm it down a little bit, I'm just using the Romand powder and just tapping that all over. And I am kind of curious about that kind of highlighting shade in the, one moment, in this palette. I'll try to use this one as a highlighter. It just looks very beautiful. So I'm just taking my Sueva 134 Luxe Powder Fusion brush. And my dog is trying to eat my brushes now. And I'll just try to apply that very gently here, making sure I don't get like a cast of gray or something on my cheek. It's looking very beautiful, very subtle, which I like nowadays. So that's a perfect kind of shadow to use as a highlighting shade. Or if you just want a very soft eye look, you can also just use this one. That's very nice. So I will add some liner to my upper lash line. Maybe I'll do some colored liner for my lower lash line or my lower waterline. And I'll put on some lashes, I think, because I'm feeling it today. And I'll show you the close-up of this look. So that was the close-up of this look. I'm still struggling a little bit with my setup and trying to show off the eye look and all the shifts, because I can see so many shifts in this look, but I hope that I was able to catch it on camera. But I love, love, love the shade Dragon Tear. It is so beautiful, and it's a lot more pink, but it still has that gold to green shift. I love it. It's so beautiful. And the other shadows that I used are also super great quality, and I think all of these palettes are just so pretty, and I definitely recommend these two palettes if you like neutral shades. And I guess this one could be a little bit similar to the, what was it called? The one that also had these kind of colors. I don't remember. I will pop up a picture of it if I do. I also ended up using some new lipsticks that I got from them, or I used one of them, but I received 9 lipsticks. It's 2 different formulas. One looks like this and one looks like this. And this is the one I used. It's called Budyn Kawowy, and it's one of their hybrid lipsticks, and it says that it's a semi-transparent glossy color effect with the nourishing benefits of a lip balm. And it says that it has quite a few good ingredients in it, and I really enjoy how it feels, and I just love how rosy and beautiful this color is. It goes so well with the palettes that I used, so I'm super happy with how this look turned out all in all. I definitely loved these blushes. I think they're so beautiful, and I've used 2 of them now, and they're very pigmented but also blend out very beautifully, so I'm so happy with those as well. But I think that's actually it for this video. It's probably been a little bit of a longer video because of all of the different swatches, but I hope that it was helpful, and I'm so glad to be back not reviewing, but like having a first impression of Glam Shop and just showing you some swatches to help you see how they look, because sometimes it can be hard with just the photos from the website. At least for me, I was so positively surprised by these palettes with how beautiful and sparkly and multidimensional these shimmers are. So stunning. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will see you in my next video too. Bye!